know.
4 o'clock, we'll call this meeting to order. Do a roll call. I'm here, Dave Long. Eric Cassidy is here as commissioner.
Eric's here, yep.
We've got Anthony Hayden as a guest. Joe.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, yeah. Why didn't that sound right? As I said it, I'm like,
right to me.
that's not right.
I know a lot of Joes
I
do
got
have
an
a
email
last
from
name
John
on
who
there.
said
Yeah.
today.
Yeah. Present.
No. 2 different families in this town for a while, actually.
Ray is not Mitchell, but Martin. We'll get it. So
Is Martin?
so the commissioners had asked
Right.
that everybody get sworn in for the committees, so can you do that after this meeting, Eric?
Yeah.
You have the
Yeah,
paperwork for
I
that,
can find
they
that
said.
paperwork, yeah.
So thank you all for being here, obviously. We're making strides, so it's good to have more people involved. Follow up on last meeting. I never pulled out my notes. Let me grab my notes. Did you have anything specific you wanted to talk about on that, Eric? or-
No, that was just kind of like a change.
Yeah, just to follow.
I think a lot of things listed underneath it are basically follow-ups of conversations.
Sure. Well, front of mind for me, if nobody has anything to talk about for last meeting, that would have been April 14th. Sorry, get my notes and my ducks in a row here. May 20th.
I have an agenda for April 1st, that was the meeting that I came to.
Yeah, and I didn't really have any notes, I didn't follow up on anything after that one, so.
I could send this document out, this is just like a short-term, midterm, and,
Yeah.
long-term goals. We could print this right now, I just made it today. It was on my mind to make it earlier, and then things happened.
Is that kind of a evolution of what we had last?
Right, it's
meeting?
it's the same information, but then it kind of gaps it into 1 year, 1 to 3 years, 3 to 5 plus
idea.
years. That way no one's thinking like we're trying to spend money on a rope dough tomorrow,
Yeah.
you know, concepts like that.
Kind of helps in the community's mindset on
Yeah,
what they're looking for.
it just paints the vision that much clearer in a different way.
And it helps organize the work too, where do you start when there's so much to do?
Yeah.
It's nice to have.
But I would call this a draft, and I just was gonna display it to you guys, and maybe I'll just print it and have you guys like look over it, and we can talk about it later in email or something too, you know, it doesn't have to be, I don't know, if I need to read it verbatim right now, that's all.
Yeah, I know it's a busy night. If we don't have a lot to talk about, we could kind of like go over some
Okay.
of that short term, just to kind of like see
Yeah.
what short term looks like for us.
Yeah, well,
And then not worry about the other stuff until
Sure.
later. We kind of work on that as a later goal.
yeah,
We don't have to though either, it's just an idea.
yeah, it's right here, so, you know, host events, small community events like we've been doing already, whether it's a Winterfest or the bike race, these kind of things just gain traction, and we had a really good Winterfest this year, that was like, to me, super promising. As much as anything, it makes me think like, there's just people around that wanna recreate on that mountain.
Having a good winter helps.
Yeah, right, we had some good powder on that mountain at different times this year too. We're already reopening and maintaining these trails now. We're looking into the safety of everything, whether it's the safety trails, or just like the way we've kind of, planned ahead, I don't know, with these events, with everything, anything,
Right.
ambulance and everything like that. I'd like to start talking about, upgrading beginner facilities further, including a pump track. That's on my agenda, the agenda for later. We'll get that kiosk done sometime this summer, and then develop already what I believe is like a cleared area, it's just not conducive to like bringing your cars into, but it's just cause it's kinda chaotic. But if we just cleaned it up and put a little gravel, it might make easy parking that is wasted space otherwise right now. So those are all within the next year.
Where is like, trail markers and blazing included on your list here, is that like,
That wasn't actually on that whole, I took, that can go anywhere, that can go in the next year or so too, I would love to do that, and that's something that Ray was gonna talk about, or had talked about with me, on the smaller hiking trails, but then we wanted to, make sure that the bike trails and then the hike trails and everything are getting color coded properly and just, marked as well as can be, I would say.
yeah,
Yeah,
So-
and just coming up with some sort of uniform system that's easy to understand, because it can get really complex fast in terms of someone just showing up and what's a ski trail, what's a hiking trail, what can I go up,
What's
where can,
biking?
where's biking,
Yeah.
one way only. And then having, we're already on our third set of names, I think, we start out with colors and,
yeah.
and then for the race, there's numbers and it
Yeah.
just, so I think a lot of thought, before we start spending money.
For sure, I
Because it's
think we
it's
gotta get
expensive.
it on paper, so we can take like the Trail Forks map for the bike. I would say like what we called, the ski lift, the lift up, the lift trail. I would say that's like kind of a good, just like generic hiking trail for people, if we wanted to like tell people like those bike trails, you gotta yield to bikers if you want your pure hiking trail, go up the lift trail for now, because,
Yeah, and that could be the expert up trail, and then the stroll could be the easy up trail, because that's like a
yeah,
nice,
right, yeah.
cause some people wanna,
Valid down.
get their cardio up, and some of us wanna stroll.
Yeah,
I liked your draft map thing that you showed me on Saturday,
oh,
I think that's a good starting place too. You just sketched it out and you kinda like, you already planned out like the side left trail
Oh,
is like the
yeah.
uphill route.
you're right.
And that's an easy uphill route for biking too, right, that side
Yeah,
trail.
and I
Oh,
try to
fair
meet
enough,
most
maybe that.
hikers, when I'm up there working, there's,
Over
I
there.
meet hikers and obviously bikers, but hikers, dog walkers.
That's the one, you're talking about the one that's closest to
Farthest one
skiway,
to the left. Yep.
like
Yes.
all the way over, the
That'd
one
be
that
like-
See,
I
we
saw,
already,
I saw
should
you
we
on.
call them the ski trails, give them their original name, I moved to the stroll because that was the original, the map is over there in corner, and it'd be nice to keep that in
We gotta
mind
keep some
too,
of
for
it,
the
yeah.
ski trails.
So there's a lot going on with the three major activities we're trying to foster.
Right,
There's
and
so
we had
much
a
trail,
discussion previously about colors, and there was some discussion about like keeping all of the trails the same color if they're used for different activities, right? So is the idea like the biking, I mean, we've been using white tape to do the downhill biking trails. Do we stick with white for the biking?
I'm trying to think about this, we had initially talked about a disc, maybe a uniform disc for everything, and then it gets
Yeah.
sub-labeled, just this is Monteau, this is a recreation area, the disc, I think Eric and I looked at, looking at why they were pretty expensive. That's a great question, Dave, and it's something we really have to.
Sticker right there on his laptop.
Yeah.
Those would make like a perfect.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's it, that's why I made these stickers originally, for the concept of like making them the tags on the tree too,
Yeah.
not as
Yeah,
stickers, but the
we
same
do have,
concept.
maybe we should do some reading, I should do
But
some.
it got
I
expensive
think-
quick
I
when we
think
started
the-
looking into
Yeah,
it.
we were
think
talking
the-
Saturday, like even if you ordered like, I don't know,
1,000
you
or
could
The
order,
discs,
you could
yeah,
order
the discs.
like a crap ton of them,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and keep them in the box,
Yeah.
and they would be there forever
Right.
Yeah.
for forever use, because they do have to get changed out.
Yeah,
Right,
here and
maybe
there.
we need to
But-
think about
Oh yeah.
manufacturing, what's a cheap way, but also
Mhm.
professional.
It's gonna last,
And
right?
look good and gonna last, and then could we make
This
something
isn't
like
a
that?
1 year, yeah.
Evidence
know,
Conservation Trust is a good contact for how they do theirs.
yeah, and I already
you
talked to
part
them,
of the
and I
conservation? You work
know,
there?
Diane,
volunteer.
you started with them too, right?
Yeah, I'll reach out
I
to
didn't
them.
realize that.
Yeah,
Cause they have beautiful ones. I've seen, where was the ones I've seen most? Cooley Jericho.
Yeah,
I saw a bunch of,
Yeah.
I know, there's looking ones up there too, so.
yeah, they just
Oh,
changed the
ladder, you
different
got that
color
on
they, cause it's one, the
on
old
the,
ones say Bethlehem on them. And the new ones now say Franconia.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
For
I'll
nostalgia,
tell
I
you
guess maybe that'd be a good place to start is with, see if we can build off
This,
the original, I like, you know, for the historic nostalgic kind of thing, I don't know, I don't know.
yeah, well, I think everything should have some kind of tribute to the past, cause this is, to me, is just like the bones of the past that
Yes,
we're
yeah.
rebuilding on
So
now.
whatever
We wouldn't
plan,
be able to talk about any of this stuff right now without all this effort from the past, cause like there's so much
Yeah.
work and money and effort, you know, the labor that was done
Yes.
before. It's unbelievable.
and this would pay tribute if we somehow can include this in our grand marking scheme or
This-
naming scheme or
I
whatever.
would say making sure we do uphill and downhill, and then separating the indicators for the 3 different sports. And then I think somebody mentioned on Saturday, maybe we want the lower trails to be slightly different markings than like
Yeah.
high trails.
Right, cause there's gonna be, and the lower term are probably gonna be multi-use.
Yep.
Whereas the bike trails would really have to be directional because
Yes,
bikers hit.
and there's
fast
gotta be
speeds. It's
signs.
unfortunate, I wish that was not the case.
Yeah, but
But it's over
signage
snowshoeing.
is yield to biking,
Yield
it's
to
gotta
biking.
happen.
Yeah, and, but, you know, in the wintertime, it's different, you know, skiers, so they can all go up and down, but it's just the mountain biking,
Well, it's the same thing, skiers go down fast and uphill travel needs to be,
yeah.
be,
You're spinning or you just.
So-
that's why that red route right there
Yeah.
would probably be the skin up trail if we were to be really
Right.
particular about where people skin up. And that
Right.
trail is like accessible for complete, like you can
The whole
skin
day,
up the
right
whole
now,
way.
Yeah, and
Most-
ski
most
down there,
trails
have
are not
enough
like
room.
that.
The intention would be to have that skin upable by next year, because there'd at least
Yeah.
be, you could go back down that way,
Yes.
and you could hit parts of 2 in and out,
Yeah,
like as is, at the top half at
Yep.
least, and you could do smaller loops from there.
Yep,
So the skin up,
That's before we even talk to Granite State.
the skin up
Exactly.
on that trail is actually like you keep it to the right side,
Mm.
and then the left side is all skiable.
There you
So
go.
it could
yes,
be,
yes,
it
I
could
think the
be
right side with the
up
climbing
and
side and the
down.
down, it would be.
I drew
Right.
this like 2 years ago, or a
Yeah.
year and a
Yeah.
half ago, so, you know.
But
I
after
have a
being on it
Ropeto-
the other day-
There's a white thing that says Ropeto and black thing, magic carpet, like, you know, I think honestly, the Ropeto would just go back where the Ropeto was, you know, it just.
Yeah.
This was, again, preliminary thinking a long time ago, but it's a good map, and I've made it phases, like, you know, we can just clear out the bunny hill for the kids real easy, and then the next phase would be like 2 and 3, those trails, and then on and on.
Ray, did you have some idea about the trail markers that we didn't
Well,
hear
I
yet?
was more interested in the hiking trails, the ones that aren't even on that
Yeah,
map.
the
Yeah.
lower ones.
The lower
We have
ones.
another map of those, we could
Because,
build
I mean,
that.
I discovered them last year, and I've been using them, my wife and I and the dog and everything, and they're really pretty neat. But they could use a little sprucing up and maybe, everything's blue, you know, we could color code those a little differently. I mean, they're small trails, they're only like maybe 3/10 of a mile or half a mile.
That's pretty
each.
much what they worked out to be, yeah.
Correct, yeah.
Tying into the new trails we're building too, the reservoir.
And then, yeah, what we did Saturday, you know, we could kinda do that, you know, and it's totally separate from the big mountain.
The idea is, at some point, is to be able to have one big map that encompasses everything and then kind of feature, you know, on that kiosk and then on different areas on the website and whatnot. So that you kind of have a zoomed in portion, right? Like, oh, here's the lower hiking trails, here's the upper.
Yeah. I,
It's
just
like
thinking,
you were thinking something.
I don't wanna upset Diane any further, I was gonna say just one big beautiful map, you know?
Why is that upset you?
Oh, cause it's
Yeah.
the quote, like, one big beautiful.
Yeah.
well, it's a lovely, you have a winter map and a summer map, you know, I mean, that's-
Yeah,
And I bet somebody would tell us, many people would probably tell us that this is extremely hard to draw out
Yeah,
in one big beautiful map
Yeah.
like that, because we're talking about such small little
sure,
trails
sure.
on like flat and then everything else on the steep, but I don't think it's impossible to do, it just, it's gonna take
so
some
much of
work.
money or work, you know.
Yeah.
All this trail stuff, is a longer term, you know, we'll be doing this over the next couple of
Yeah, I think
months,
so.
to even
Right.
6 months to make sure we have it all.
I'm thinking about, you know, the order, you gotta have use, direction, ability level, you know, I'm just
And name,
trying to,
yeah.
Yeah, so we can use color and shapes, you know,
Yep.
so we can figure all that
I'm just
out.
thinking of the things that you need, the information that you really need to have, and if the colors, the names, and whatever. But anyway, okay, we'll
Just
probably
thinking
move
the
on.
more breakdown there is, the more costly it'll be for the tags
Exactly,
on the
that's
trees.
true too, yeah.
So we have to think of that.
Yeah.
I mean, you could always do tags that have 3 things listed on it, so we check it with a marker or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah.
But, the more we do,
Ready to have a common sign with, maybe the, what you're saying, ability, whatever, and you check the box, that's.
Or
I
some
guess-
kind of like color that we mark, like we would highlight it or
right,
like
do some,
circle it or,
right,
that could work. We could always do a different colored blaze too, so we do, like hiking trails are marked with those, and then you have a blaze for, I don't know, something else, like it.
What's a blaze?
Just like
Just
the
the spray paint on the
spray
tree.
Oh, I
paint.
Yeah,
guess,
that's
I'm
another
gonna poop
And-
on the blazing, cause
4
it's
by
just,
6.
like, not
You need a
professional,
4 by
not,
6.
it's.
Oh, blazing happens
Yeah.
everywhere.
Oh, I know, because it's the low budget,
Yeah,
you know, I don't know.
Standard procedure.
Yeah, standard, yeah.
Having
Low
like a-
budget, easy and.
it keeps people on the trail, that's
I
the
guess,
idea.
They're good for longevity, they're
Yeah.
not good for, if we plan to move trails frequently, which I hope we don't plan
Right.
that.
Yeah,
Like blazing's bad for that, so a
Yeah.
lot of places like ACT is now going to markers instead of blazing, because sometimes trails get washed out, or you have different routes for mud season
Yeah.
opposed to dry season, so they're going towards those markers now opposed to blazing, but
We
What
actually
do
are
you-
doing,
what do you
we're
mean by a
actually,
marker?
I'm looking at Eric's
Oh, okay.
sticker, it
Either
would look
plastic or
like that,
metal.
like plastic, metal, whatever.
And then, will you nail them onto a tree?
Yep, and the old fashioned idea is it's
I
bad
don't
for
like
the
nailing
tree.
at the trees if we don't have to.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm a
that's,
fan of the paint.
that's the old fashioned idea, is that it's bad for the trees, but we're kind of finding out that like the nails don't really affect the trees. If you're only doing one here and there, it's not like you're actually gonna hurt the
And put the
tree.
disc way out.
Keep the
Larry.
disc away
Yeah,
from the
right.
tree,
Right.
yeah, use a
Right.
longer
Yeah.
nail.
in the short term,
Yeah.
we could use tape as we're planning,
Yeah, can you move it in?
right, and so.
And we already have that in part, so we should just continue that as
Yeah,
a
that's what I do when
short-term
I-
goal.
Look at trail options.
So if we could
markers fall
transition, so if we could talk more about that, because in the short, term, right now, we need to worry about blazing these trails to get them ready for the race, right?
Yeah,
So
right.
you've got the same, as,
No, cause they'll be taped.
well, taped, that's what I mean,
Taped, oh, yeah.
but like the taping is the short term, like we need to get those, trails back to where they need to be.
Right.
Is the idea that they're all gonna stay the same? You're not planning to make any changes to those downhill,
I don't think so, I mean, I'm gonna definitely look to improve what's there, to make it more fun, but I don't see I'll talk to Adrian about that when we, hike, but I wondered too also for the size, if we can look at some way to make them that's both inexpensive and good looking and easy, cause the size, the cost keep.
Yeah,
I mean,
let's
I wanna-
move past.
Yeah,
this
but I
thought
like to look at that
altogether
and see,
Because
how can
we'll
we get
do
cheap,
research on
inexpensive option?
material and costs and
Yeah,
everything.
okay.
in the future.
Yeah, that's a big
Yes.
one, okay,
Yes.
trail markers.
Yeah.
And by the time we start working on those, we might have some donations rolling through the door as well.
Right,
That
right.
might be able to help us pay for some of that stuff, so
Yeah.
we're not taking tax budget on anything.
My wife bought me a router to make sign for
Nice.
not like last Christmas, but it's still in the box, cause I was kinda busy.
So
I
we,
was kinda busy.
so with
Figure it
the,
out.
as far as the race tape goes, you figure need just about the same amount
Yes.
as last
Yeah,
year?
did you count the ones?
No, I
down?
didn't look to see, I'll check in the basement over
Because that was
there.
the overflow, so we can get what we got last year minus whatever's in the basement.
Eric, would you have a chance to stop by over there and see what's there? It's in the lower door, there's a pile of, stakes still there. I figure we're gonna need probably like 4 more bundles of stakes, and then I'll order the race tape for whatever we need, but if you can give me a count on what's still there. And then we'll get the same amount
And you have the
that
record.
we had last
You
year.
have the record there, so.
Yeah, I did it in 2 different orders last year, so we'll just make sure we have that same amount, and that'll leave us with some left over. I liked the trails where we left the tape around the trees, because it left them marked, so
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
cleaning up.
I guess I'm okay with it. Until I met you, I'm like taking them off.
Yeah, everything
When I live
came
up the
off.
woods, I'm taking,
Yeah.
I'm saying, well, why don't you leave it on so we can find the trails? Well, I know where they are, but someone else like, knows
Everybody
walking up
else
there and
doesn't.
lost it,
Well, I know the trails, I just like, I know how many trails there are too, and I was trying to actually like follow the track and couldn't
Yeah.
actually follow the track, and I'm
Right.
like, okay,
Yeah.
we actually need more blazing work
Yeah.
to do that.
So could we get some blue tape, maybe Ray and I can tent the walking trails?
Yeah, the small ones,
Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah, we can,
or you wanna just do,
sorry.
well, I'd like just for it to like
you want
compound
orange?
on Ray's idea of, starting to just differentiate those walking trails altogether. you know, that can be just like other,
Right.
yeah.
So right now, there's Blue Blaze, that's all those lower trails, so we wanna stick with blue there.
Ray, you were thinking?
Well, my thought was, before we got into the whole mountain thing, I was just looking at it from those trails, and, you know, you've got like 3 or 4 walking trails
Yeah.
all on the other side of, you know, the lodge. And so there's 3 loops, and everything's blue, and then you've got in the middle, off the field, there's these 2 roads go in like this, and they end at,
The kind of central spot.
Valley
there,
Road,
yeah.
right? And that could be like, you could blaze those in white. And then, instead of having 3 blue trails, you could have a, you know, leave 1 blue and then have a red one and a green one or something like that. And
Yeah.
and then document it on a map.
Yeah,
And then we could also throw the ones in that we were working on around the little pond at the
Right
bottom
down
there.
there, yeah.
I think color changes would indicate like length though, too. So that's something we gotta
Well, if you do white, then
consider.
it goes to biking. I think, you know, going back to what Anthony said earlier, is each tape should be activity.
Well, we could complicate this as much as
Yeah,
as we wanted
It's
to.
gonna require
I'm a
some
big fan of
thinking.
simplicity, but.
yeah, so I like
I'm
where you're
only
going with this,
one
right?
voice,
Like,
you know, I'm only one
if
voice.
each hiking trail was just differentiated by a different color, at least we understand that side of things is, and even if there's a green trail that's a little hiking trail and a green trail over on the other side that's a mountain bike trail, like, it's far enough away, we know that they're different trails at that point, you know? Especially if they're tagged a different way, maybe these ones are just painted over on the hiking trails, and then we have tags for the other ones or something, so it would be different. Yeah, I don't wanna take away from that, but I'd like to stay on our, the agenda here.
Yeah.
We started at the roadmap, and then I actually had trail markers and colors for later in this conversation, but
Sorry, that was my bad.
no, it's okay, but I do know Dave was trying to get out of here like before 5 today because of, I think his kids, right?
Yeah,
Family?
coach of Little League team starts.
So anyway, if we could just
Game on.
quickly, I'd like to just chat about a few other things, the kiosk. We're still installing, you know, everything's a go.
Yeah, so we got approval from the commissioners to go
Yes.
ahead with that, with donated materials and donated, labor, so that'll be a go. It's just gonna be a kind of a little sub-project that we'll get in.
Yeah,
Quite a few people showed interest in helping out with that, so I don't see that being a problem, but I think,
Is there a location for that yet, or is that TBD?
yeah, kind of,
Where the
in that,
trash can used to be, the
in
dumpster.
that parking area, yeah, I don't know if you know where the dumpster used to set
you know
over
where
there.
the bike signs are now for parking, it says like bike park, there's like trees and then the lodge, like, so there's like a kind of a tree barrier in front of the lodge. So towards like the front center of that tree barrier would be,
Close to, Skiway Road.
a little bit more towards like the driveway up to the front of the lodge itself. So as you were driving up Lodge Lane, you'd just see this big sign ahead of you, like straight ahead where the parking is.
Cause the last meeting, there was some discussion about maybe having it in that new parking area.
Oh, I think eventually,
That's long term,
I think eventually that one would need its own,
yeah.
because there would be ways up these mountains from that whole parking already.
True.
Another kiosk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hey, if they're free. So,
So that's a good go. Ed Page came to move on to that brush hogging, and walked around up there. He did not see anything that scared him as far as getting his tractor up there and being able to open up some more of those trails. I understand it a lot better now than I did with walking around. I was banking on Eric being able to walk around and
Yeah.
provide some
Feel so
direction,
bad.
but he went and shattered his leg, so,
Yeah.
but he just wants direction, right? He wants tags, you know, what do you want me to do? And then he'll go ahead and do it, so I think we'll be able
Anthony
to.
should be there for that side trail, and I think Joe, you'll appreciate this too, cause when I went up with Anthony, we were talking about leaving more like organic patches of these trees there, so he's not just mowing the whole
How
thing
big
down.
of a thing does he mow down? I mean, how big a tree?
5 foot swath. Oh, he said about like that.
Like 4 inch,
Oh, yeah, so I'm pretty concerned
5 inch.
about that based on
Yeah.
our discussions, in other words.
So what we need to do is we need to go up that hill at some point and tag the swaths or the patches of trees that we wanna keep as like, you know, glades and like.
Yeah, no, I was thinking, I was like,
grounds,
too many
make it
times, I was
feel
thinking I'd take
organic.
a baling twine and run it around block, you know, where
Oh.
I could flag them individually when they're standing out, but I'm looking at some of those bunches of trees and it'd be easier if I just took a baling twine and went around the block and then thinned it out.
For stuff to leave.
Yeah, cause,
Stuff to
that's a pretty big, tree, in other words, there's things, forages that I might like to keep for sure.
Yeah.
As far as,
Yes,
you know, it'll be, the way it goes up, there's a shot on the left and a shot on the right, and it kind of blocks the trees in the middle and it's open, it'd be nice to just progressively thin out, and there was a gentleman talking about 10 or 12 foot spacing, you know, which is kind of an optimal
Yeah.
spacing to thin trees out to, and there would still be plenty of open, on stroll, you know, left, right, center,
It's
somebody that's open side to side, you know. and-
Yeah.
it's gonna make the trail feel less like a freeway highway and more like an organic stroll
Yeah, and I
through
would
the
love
woods, which
to-
I think Monteau has so much, you know, charm to it that if you have it like that and not just like completely clear cut, but, you know, where
was
there
sort of
are
that
like
mixed that
choose your own
walk with,
adventures, like you can go loop around here or
Mr.
around that,
Bay,
you know,
really
there's gonna be
had
a
that,
couple
like, it's
little
been a
alleys
chance.
to go on all these major trails. So, I think, Anthony, we could find a way to get up on that.
I would love to be there when he's here and take a,
I think
I know he
before
walked
that,
already, but,
before that, we could mark some stuff too, and I
Yeah.
can, I'll figure it out.
yeah, that would be great, I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
gonna
he's
ride on
happy
his
to
tractor
do it,
with him or
and he's happy to do whatever it is
Yeah,
that we
certainly
ask him
the-
to
certainly
do.
the,
It's really like just connecting trails.
The cut across trails with just
Yeah.
all that, I wouldn't care, you know,
Right.
take it
Yeah.
all, you know, but.
All that stuff that's grown up, that's this big around, you know, you get
Yeah.
through and you can really, like, there's ways to tie those trails together and open things up to make it a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Like,
as far as
after,
after, yeah, I don't have any qualms about that getting,
and
No,
that
I've been
touches
working on
on, yeah, that touches on like talking about beginner areas, Eric, and opening up some of that stuff. I mean, my kids brought their bikes up there the other day and were able to kind of cross and go around, and they're not expert bikers by any stretch, but I think that there's a lot of ability there for,
but yeah, I
pointing to
was,
there's somebody
No,
walking
sorry,
around there
no,
are-
Wait,
what
you get
are
it.
you talking about?
going up that stroll trail
Oh,
there.
okay, so
and
they
the-
did that, your kids did that,
Yep.
and then where were they?
Well, they pushed up and then just kind of crisscrossed back and forth.
Yeah.
Some of those rescue roads,
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
I
There
opened
are-
up another
there
rescue
are
road.
roads that go, I mean, when I was building the race trails, I was certainly keeping an eye on the roads to cross, because that would be the
It's ideal.
intermediate from the top, because there are those roads, I haven't quite connected them all together, but they're very low angle, like below the big toe. That can go straight
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
across, and then, you know, it would be great for easier
Right.
biking, skiing, whatever.
But then that gets back into signage, right? Like trails merging, because if you've got somebody coming down Big Toe at
Yeah.
Mach 2, you know, and you gotta
Yeah,
Yeah,
cro-
as long
cross.
as if you
but-
have a view, and then, I love it, that JP, they have this great sign, it says, look, LOOK with big eyeballs. and
Yeah.
arrow. I love
Yeah,
that one.
yeah.
I love those.
well,
But
yeah,
it's-
and that's a great point, that's something as simple as that with the arrow to where they're coming from,
Because
is
Right.
gonna get it.
It'd be impossible to have you know, the downhill trails, and it just, you know, if we were millionaires, we would build bridges over the, you know, at bike parks they build.
Yeah,
But we're not going there.
yeah, launch ramps.
Maybe that
But no,
tool
they-
will come out of the box.
They do, because they put bridges over, like, iron, because they got trails going
Oh,
everywhere,
yeah.
and they put bridges and, anyway.
Alright, so
So
we're
do-
good there, so Ed's
you know
not,
what- you
Ed's
know
not
what?
getting right to work
Not.
right off, no, he's waiting on us at this point.
Okay,
So that's
Okay.
fine, and there's no rush on that either.
yeah,
You move on to this trail cleanup day?
yeah, I mean, it was a great success, I'm sorry I didn't get you in any live action shots, none of you guys, I got all the people close to me on the ground there. But everyone that hiked up the mountains, I'm sorry I didn't propagate
It's all
it,
good.
see better.
It's,
It was a great day,
It
good
was great.
pizza from Surfwater, and to be honest, I swear, like everyone asked me, when do we do it again? Can we go next week? Can we go next month? Like, yeah, so,
my dream, I've been like years, like, oh, could I get some help, please?
I mean.
So does it
we-
make
at some
sense to
point-
set another one of those, like, in the month of May?
Maybe June, I'm probably crippled until June. But that's the other thing that everyone said to me, so we don't need you to do this, and that's true too,
It is,
so.
it's true.
Maybe after Memorial Day,
Yeah.
that first weekend, or first weekend in June maybe.
Yeah, that might be another good
It
time to
doesn't
just keep
conflict with
going,
anything else that's going on.
yeah. And just while we're talking about that, I've already talked more with Granite State Backcountry, they're probably not gonna come until June. Not only because of my knee and everything, but the executive director just said like, he had a busy month of work in May and he just thought like at this point it'd be better to just come in the beginning of June anyway. So, I think we left it like kind of wide open for the beginning of June, so I can get back to you guys.
Alright, so Friday is this Friday.
It's not gonna happen this
Okay, no,
week.
good, that,
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean, not
sorry.
good,
I'm
but
sorry about all this, it's just, he had a thing come up at the same time that my leg got hurt, and so,
we had their attention, so.
yeah, and they're interested very much,
Just let us know.
yeah.
Hey, would people to mind putting their name and email address, so I can, cause I
We can do that
text
at the
these
end.
guys all the time, yeah.
Yeah, we
'cause,
can do that at the end.
you know, especially if
That's
you guys
something
do it,
on
I'll
my
tell you
list
what I'm
somewhere
doing
here
and where I
too.
am, I always tell them what, you know. what
Yeah,
I
to
did
have an
weekend,
email
what I
list,
did, where
like,
I
do you
was.
wanna just put one together tonight that goes
Where
out
do
to
you
all
live
of
on
the
the
committee? Like everybody
On the
that's
other
here,
side.
you have everybody's email address
I
that's
did for the
here.
last 4
Yeah.
years, it's
Yeah.
slowing down now.
Start a forestry committee, just update or email,
Forestry too?
or sorry, no, that's on the end of your list.
Yes.
Monteau,
Yeah. Yeah, okay, so we've gone through all the discussion stuff, and so, just so you guys know, I had a quick, phone call with Mr. Moulton already about this year, he's totally on board with the concept again. And, I was just gonna go say hi to him, of course, it's
Yeah,
like
I've been
he
meaning to
just
go see
happened.
him, I saw him in the hospital.
What is that about?
Okay, so the Pinnacle is the other mountain next to Monteau, and he owns a good section of it. A lot of it he's put into a trust, and that trust is something that Diane's now working on too. But I'm pointing over there because it's actually that mountain that you can see, the one to the right. But so he owns a good chunk of that mountain up there, a number of acres, and he allows us, we've signed an agreement that allows us to let the bikers go up on that weekend and just use his land. And then there's a trail that I used to think was just a slight elbow. I've now learned it's more of like the whole arm and of the trail because of the way, the map is actually on the tax records and on the like on the payroll website wrong still. So, he owns a lot more land than I thought, so I'm glad we have his permission and his good graces with all.
So when you're at the base of the mountain, it's to the right.
Yeah, when you go up that ski bunny trail and you start going to the right,
Yeah.
you'll start walking into what they're talking about, which is the ACT, tags now, these orange they're diamond shaped, so
Yeah, it's all marked up,
Tilted
flagged out.
squares.
Yeah, they've been there for a while, but they're gonna add more, right?
they've been doing it since about last year, I think,
Okay.
or so.
And Richard does own the land, but the trust, you sell the development rights, so he maintains it as farming and logging, it just, he can't lot it up and sell it. So he is the owner, but the trust manages.
And the trust
that you
allows,
probably can-
It's under
Oh,
conservation.
I'm brand new,
Oh,
but I
yeah,
know that,
so-
I know that we inspect
Yeah,
them
so it's not like it
on a
belongs to
regular
land trust, it
basis.
belongs to Richard, but he's sold the rights to develop the property, and that aspect is managed by the land trust in terms of, the criteria for
There's certain
the sale
criteria
of the.
depending on which kind of trust it's in.
It's just held in conservation.
Yeah, it's a conservation easement and
Right.
take a look, and so, and they vary by, they vary by agreement,
By
and,
use, yeah.
so, I guess we'll
so this
explore
trust
what
allows
that
for
allows.
recreational, non-motorized recreation on his land, unless he changes his mind. And so that's where we're at, and we try to respect them, and we only let the bikes go up there on the days that we tell them that they're actually gonna be going up there. Other than that, we only have 4 trails usually, on the race, we have the 5 because he allows us on that land. So where I was going with that was that, I had a phone call with them, everything's in agreement again already. I was just gonna go, re-sign a new document for the 2025 year, and, just to be formal with them again, and we're good on that.
Thank you.
And always, yeah, he's just a nice man, he really is.
Well,
I always wanna say that.
such a great thing,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
there's no,
So is it okay to go hiking up there?
Yep, yeah,
Use our
anytime,
water?
anytime, hikers can go, we just don't advertise on like the website or
Uh-huh.
nothing that we have another bike trail there, I just don't wanna create too much
Right.
chaos.
Yeah.
But like local mountain lakes people that, you know, walk up there and back, like, stay off the other people's lands up there, by Richard Moulton's land, and so you can find it on the map. Again, a large part of what says is Mountain Lakes land, I could show you later, is actually his too. And you would see it now on, when you're hiking, because they literally spray paint it pink and orange with the
Oh,
tags.
okay.
So you know.
I've been up
when-
there
it's
once,
usually in the Mountain Lake
maybe
quarter
a year and a half ago.
is marked, but
It wasn't
not so
really
much on
big.
Richard, I don't know where
Yeah.
the other side is, you
Yeah,
know?
they have the little
It's
I
all
mean, I know where
his-
Max's is, cause he
Markers
told me
on
where
it.
Max's land starts.
Yeah.
So for the ESC race, you got parking and traffic signage for the event weekend, are we looking to do anything
No,
leaps and bounds different than
I
last
literally
year?
just copy and pasted everything that we did
Okay.
last year.
So the only
so
big
that we can
difference,
Start talking and making sure we're getting ready for July this year.
sure, the only big difference that we're gonna see this year is all day parking is gonna be on Valley Road, as opposed to coming in and using that
Oh, right,
that portion, so that'll just be, I mean, we were pretty much just taking care of that at the, we're gonna need the same kind of parking volunteers like we had last year, putting people where they need to go.
Yep.
And the idea being that we can accommodate more campers
More
and raise
campers.
more revenue.
yep,
And, what kind of notice are we gonna give the owners on Valley Road along that section, so they're aware prior, so it's not a surprise?
I don't know, do you have a thought on that? We didn't do anything last year.
On the
but-
website.
Yeah, it was all, went out by email, but as far as knocking on doors or reaching out to homeowners individually, we did not do that.
Well, I guess we would see if how many people that are on that stretch are on the email server that we have.
Yeah.
And, we could notify them that way that, you know, and well, I think when we do the plan, I think we should let people know, here's our plan for the
Yeah.
event, and here's,
Yeah, I
and
think
everybody in the whole
we wanna
community
keep- yes.
should get a full blast.
Yes.
yep,
And if we double check for people that are on that, then maybe I could deliver a hard copy paper to their door or something.
Yeah.
yeah.
I just think that the courtesy should be
It-
there
it's
for
fine,
the
yeah.
people
Yeah, we
on
wanna
that
keep
stretch.
everybody.
I wasn't sure if you meant the parking lot we intend to have there, or the parking on the road itself.
Parking on the
On
road,
the road, I
Oh,
was
okay.
like,
cause yeah,
But the whole
if-
plan was, that's a great idea, just like letting the D-mail know
Community.
the whole plan.
Yeah.
I guess.
yeah, and
Yeah,
that's what we did
and
last
double
year.
check those, the people on that stretch.
Yeah, we can make a
There's
whole
what,
document
6 or
and just
7
blast it out.
8 houses maybe total
Yeah,
along there that.
Yeah,
would
and
have to-
I mean, last year we did not really have, there wasn't a whole pile of day parkers. I mean, I was out there in the morning both days and it was minimal, you know, the number of people that showed up. For the most part, it seemed like people that were there were committed and they were
Were they
there
all
for
in
the
a lot? I
weekend.
forget.
yeah, so the
Yeah.
front, where the front temporary parking was or whatever, like you wanna make that more camping this
Yeah.
year? Oh, okay. How many more camping spots do you think we can get? Didn't we get like 40 something this year?
40, yeah, 42,
So what do
43,
you
something like
think we
that.
can do, like,
We could get another dozen right there,
okay.
which I feel like we're going to need
Yeah.
because there's gonna be more people and the campgrounds around are gonna be more full, being that it's in July.
And we had
Is that your
talked
dog?
about widening the
Is that your
road.
dog coming to see you?
Oh, no, it's not my dog, right?
No,
No.
no.
No,
It's a black and white dog that looks like mine.
We had talked about widening the road by the leach field so we could have camping in there. I don't know how much work, I haven't looked at that closely.
I don't know if we want, cars on top of that.
No, we don't, and the issue is that it's a one lane going in, so you can't have people park and camp. You need it wide enough so that you can have a lane going in and out without being on the leach field. That's exactly, it would be okay to camp on it, but not to drive on it. And the
From-
road isn't quite wide enough. to
Yeah, it's
get it
really
to
not
the way.
wide enough. To make it a one-way would be one thing, but in
I
and
know.
out, there's no
I don't
way.
know that, is there a way to go out or make it circular, or would you have to widen it? And I don't know what that would involve in terms of cutting, you know?
Right, yeah, I don't
And-
see it being really doable because of the width of where it comes through, and then you've got leach field on this side, and then, it drops off quite a bit on the downhill side.
Well, I looked at it, was just true, you'd have to cut trees
Yeah,
to get, and probably some big
I
ones.
think I
guess.
need you guys to show me this.
Anyway,
I'm not,
Yeah, we could talk about that later.
Yeah.
I just wanted, something that's kinda hanging out there,
Yeah.
from last year.
So from last year, I was under the impression, or just from talking to a few different people before that race, that there would be more people that wanted a tent camp. And after last year, that is not the case.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
you get
mainly
people with
car
tents,
camp.
but
Yeah,
it's mainly car camping.
Yeah.
People wanna have they've got their car top, tents and
Right, well,
whatnot, so
that's what
knowing that,
And that's why having a walk-in camp area doesn't really
right,
do it. You
Didn't
need to
fly.
be
There
able
was
to
one
park your
group back
car,
there,
not necessarily
or
on a
two.
leach field, but, you
Yeah.
know, have your gear right there and park.
Yeah, if you wanna show me
We'll
what you're
talk about that,
thinking,
yeah.
I'd like to see that, maybe that's an option.
But Dave, due to your point that it's gonna be in July, maybe that dynamic will change. That people more
Yeah.
camp,
more camp, I
Right.
think the number is gonna be higher, just the
Yeah.
the
but the
number
tent
of race,
camping may be higher too.
racers.
Generally, there
Oh,
aren't
no,
very
I don't
Yeah,
think so.
you don't think so?
These people, you should see how they roll in,
Well,
like
I've
they've
seen,
got,
I was there.
There
Yeah.
aren't, you know,
They
I've been
got the
doing
gear.
this for
Yeah.
decades and there
There's
aren't a lot of
gear.
tent
Should we
campers.
Okay.
Should we put a date
Well,
on
I'm
the
not anymore, I have a
notice?
van.
What's that?
I've got,
Should we put a date on the notice, people on Valley Road?
A date on it, having
Yeah,
it
yeah, I
ready
think
by
that was a
something?
good idea, like,
Yeah.
how
I
soon
would,
should we
I
notify?
think at least by July first, if it's like July, what,
23rd.
Yeah, I think
Oh, is
that's-
it? I thought it was like 20. Okay,
I thought 23, 24 sticks in my head.
alright, so I mean.
That's a good,
it's
that's good, then,
3
but
weeks advance notice, pretty good,
I
yeah.
think so, yeah.
That way we're not putting ourselves under, because things can change up until then, so I'd
Can we
rather
put
have.
June 29th, 25th, so that we give ourselves a little time, cause just in case it doesn't go out.
Okay. June 25th?
June 25th, email notice to community.
Yeah, so we'll have
And
everything
physical copies if we
organized
want.
fully by
Yeah,
then.
and again, I'll do the physical copies if people aren't on there, or even just do the physical copies to all those houses,
That's fine.
Yeah, that's.
just let me know.
how
Okay.
far is the ball
So
field?
July
from here?
23rd and 24th is not a weekend,
It's.
Yeah, what's the weekend at that, it's the 26th and 27th.
6 and 27th?
Yeah, yeah.
26th, 27th,
Yeah. Food trucks, I'll just, let you guys know, I actually got an email from the Reckless people who came last year. And they said two things, they said, one, beer sales wasn't really worth it for them, but they loved the food truck and had a lot of fun, and they actually requested to be there on both days this year because they had such fun time.
That's awesome.
I said to them, I wasn't sure what we can do about that, cause we have community members that want to ask for, I know there's also the Haverhill thing that week, so I'm pretty sure they're gonna be busy already. So I kinda said preliminarily, yes, but, you know, what can we do in the future to like kinda sell this so that you guys are coming, whatever, and they said they said they would host a, like a donation, like fundraiser event in their tap room on behalf of Monteau in the future, you know, as part of like, if they're coming down and
Yeah.
making business off running these races, they're gonna work with us and do like, they've done this for other, like Eustis and other things too, so
Yeah.
maybe we'll have a party up at their tap room someday in the
That'd be
near
awesome.
future, that's like a fundraiser or something, so.
So I'd make a motion that
Go ahead.
that we invite
Yeah.
Reckless to come for both
I'll
days.
second that then.
Any
What
other
about the guy up on
discussion?
the hill here,
So,
the pizza guy?
He can't do it, he's out of town, we
yeah.
already talked to him.
He's out of town.
And
And-
I,
July 26th and 27th, right?
and someone already told me that, the other guy, Ben, has,
Has a fair.
has a fair to go to, so when I got approached with that in an email, I just said, I said temporarily, yes, but like, what can you do for me? And then they said like, well, we can do it a fundraiser too in the future, and
Should we
so,
reach out to Vin as a courtesy?
I will, I was texting with him today and I didn't mean, it was not about that, so I should have.
Oh, that's good, cause regular house, good beer, good.
Yeah, yeah,
Good
so-
beer and food.
and so back to that, I'll coordinate with the rec team, you know, even starting tomorrow about doing our breakfast sales again, we made some decent money, on the day of the race doing that. And maybe as subcommittee, not like exactly the same people, we could sell beer ourselves and probably make a lot of money, if we do it right. That's something that I think we need to get the proper permits and look into it, but I know that the lodge can have alcohol, and I think we could, if we kept it in-house, we make, I mean, even.
We
make
did
5
all, I mean, last year we did all of the paperwork
Yeah,
to basically make
I
it
know.
happen, except we did it for Reckless.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
to do it in-house is gonna be
Reckless
very,
doing their beer at all.
very
they don't wanna
doable.
do the beer this year, so maybe I can
Oh,
work
they
with
don't
them
wanna
on
do the
some
beer.
kind of like sourcing
Oh,
of
they
it
wanna do the
and sell
beer.
it ourselves.
Yeah, it's a whole form for the state, and it was
Right.
all laid out, and it was very doable,
Oh,
but
I
yeah.
missed that, right, it's
Um,
the food, not the beer.
Right,
So there was a motion and seconded, are you good, any other discussion on inviting Reckless?
no, I second that, so if
Yeah.
there's, all in
Aye.
favor?
Everybody good with that?
Aye.
Yeah, alright.
Yeah, that's a great opportunity then for another
Yeah,
fundraiser.
yeah.
Opposed? Don't
It's
like
just
that
good-
idea? Okay,
I don't know.
Do you know Reckless?
Can I vote?
yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah,
if,
You're
you're
in.
informally official at this point.
As long as you keep showing up with a chainsaw.
yeah,
Yeah.
cool, alright, so you'll take care of that.
Yeah,
Um,
next where's the trail markers, we've kinda talked about that a lot, I
Yeah.
think we all just keep pondering and bring up solutions and concepts, and I'll do some research too about costs and materials. I was looking at that like a year ago.
And systems, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's
All
it's
that.
pretty complex and.
It is.
I mean, that's one thing that's nice about the Trail Forks application, it doesn't, well, it does create the map, but it has all those options on it, and it might be
I'll look at that too, yeah.
well, in terms of.
I'm held up for a while, so I'm gonna be
Anyway,
doing
oh, you gotta go to
computer
trail,
work
'cause
for a while.
I'm not about the signage, but as far as the online map, it has all the features to just, describe the trail, I mean, it's got everything, elevation, it has a profile map, it has what use it is, it has what direction it is, what condition, it's all there, it's
All
designed
there.
just for exactly what we're doing, for private entities to develop their recreation areas, I think there's 10, uses in there, from horseback riding to,
right,
snowshoeing to, and-
Dave, one of your kids, reminded me that he wants a pump track,
yeah,
um,
You still have my book?
they want a lot of things.
oh, do I probably do. Where
You
is
said
it?
you put it in the office and I gave it to you.
Oh,
Basically, you see like BMX
I mean,
tracks.
I'll buy it again, I'll donate it
I'll
again.
find it.
Pump Track Nation is.
It's
Basically an ability to, it's kind of up and down, where you don't have to pedal so much, but you use the inertia to
all,
carry,
you don't
It's a
carry your
circular, it's
bike.
some form of circular round track with hills up and down, so like you never have to pedal, you can just pump around. As a kid, it'd be so fun to just do loops like that up and
Adults have
down.
fun.
It's a goal for us, but if you guys don't mind, I'm gonna table that for now, cause
Yeah.
we're,
'Cause you gotta
on the
go.
pump track, yeah, 'cause I gotta go.
Oh, okay. No, well, anyway, the whole thing, I was just gonna, yeah, that's fair. I was just gonna say, like, it'd be interesting to find a placement, then start talking about designs and quotes, but that's all in the
Yeah.
future,
Right,
so.
I think that we could focus our efforts towards this July event
Yeah,
and getting
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
prepping for that, cause that's moving us towards the future, but that's kind of the short-term goal at this
Yes.
point, is making sure that that goes off without a hitch again. Last year was a great lead up to it, and we learned a lot, but this year, there's definitely gonna be more people, so.
Yep,
I think, but we're way better prepared for it than we were last year, so.
yep,
That parking lot, same story, right? We gotta look at that and decide if that's something that we wanna tackle or
We
move
do.
on, but I think that we can discuss that further later.
yeah,
Forestry committee formation, I see that as a different committee from this entirely. I'm happy to be involved with that.
I'm intrigued by that idea too.
yeah, I just thought it was kind of relevant, only because I did a walkthrough on Monteau,
Yeah,
and the guy was, I think, like, the most positive concepts ever was like, oh, if you wanna start making some extra trails, now's the time to do it, because we have the right type of trees that we should be taking out.
they should be coming
And
out anyway.
selectively clearing, and then you put these trails in here, everything's at the right moment to do it, you can probably get money for the trees, while making the forest healthier, while making your trails. And so that was his
Good
like
portion.
synopsis, and now he's supposed to email me that synopsis and get me in touch with either like a logging advisor or something
Right.
from there.
Yeah,
Um,
a
so-
a private forester,
Yeah.
somebody that would work for the district,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or logger,
And you'll
yeah.
do a call out to owners to be on the committee?
Yeah, that just got established, last.
That forestry committee has been established, but it kind of went defunct.
Sure, so I
it's
just
kind of
became
been-
ex officio of it, and
Perfect.
and so from a formality standpoint, I'll figure out what to do.
Super. Cool. Keep me on that list too, cause
Yep.
I'm definitely interested.
Yeah,
Perfect.
okay, make a motion to adjourn.
Anybody else have any thoughts that they wanna add in here? I apologize, it's just, we have a game against Newberry, so
Just real
we
quick,
gotta do it.
I found this book
Yeah, I've seen that.
Whoa.
in the bookstore in Littleton.
Yeah.
I'm going, and I started flipping through it, and there's Monteau.
Sure,
No
sure,
way.
there it is, yeah.
There's, I mean, there's not much, there's maybe like 4 or 5 pages
Oh, yeah.
of pictures, It doesn't have a real on it, but I thought it was pretty cool,
That's
It's
awesome.
very cool.
so.
I'm gonna scan
And
it
you know
if
what's
you
really
don't
cool
mind.
is the fact that map, I don't think the map is in there, it's on the wall here.
There's a pamphlet over there you
Yeah.
can check out too, but can I scan that afterwards?
Yeah,
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 that would be-
Really,
that's why I
seeing
brought it,
those
I didn't
old
know-
maps super
I don't have a
neat.
good scanner, my scanner, I have to feed it in, but if you had a laptop one, you could just lay it on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, which is cool.
When's our meeting next month?
Oh, thank
Are
you.
we just
Yeah,
doing
thank
first,
Yeah, first Tuesday,
first Tuesday of every month? So
Yep.
that would be,
that's kinda where we had left it,
that would be June 3rd,
June third.
4
It
o'clock.
said, you know, for the white.
So
Mountain,
next
I said,
meeting,
"What's
June
the
3rd,
likely
4
Monteau being
PM,
in there?"
right
Oh, yeah.
here.
And then the front of it, it said, well, northwestern White Mountains, and go out.
Yeah,
Perfect.
That section,
Make a
there
motion
was.
to adjourn,
I'll second.
all in favor,
Alright,
thank you.
thank you.
Yeah.
I found a pair of sunglasses